Well, if you've ever looked at the price of a cruise in the MSC Yacht Club and thought, there is no way this is actually worth it, or wondered if it's real luxury or just cruise line marketing, then this is the video for you because I just sailed in the MSC Yacht Club for the very first time, and here's the honest truth. This is one of the most interesting premium cruise experiences at sea right now. At its best, Yacht Club feels like a private 5-star hotel hidden inside a cruise ship, complete with exclusive spaces, priority everything, and service that genuinely changes the entire cruise experience. But it was not perfect. Some parts of the experience absolutely impressed me, while some things surprised me, though not necessarily in a good way. And a few moments made me stop and ask whether this is true luxury or just elevated cruising. So today I'm breaking down the MSC Yacht Club experience on board the MSC Seashore using my steps review method, where we will review the S for the ship within a ship concept, the T for taste or food, the E for entertainment, the P for ports, and the second S for service. I'll score each category out of 5, and at the very end, I'll give you my final overall score and tell you exactly who Yacht Club is for and who might want to think twice. So let's get into it with the first S for ship. MSC Yacht Club absolutely nails the ship within a ship concept. The moment you walk through those Yacht Club glass doors, the entire vibe of the ship completely changes. It's quieter, it's calmer, and it just feels separated from the rest of the ship in a way that's just immediately noticeable. Now, within those glass doors, you have a dedicated Yacht Club lounge called the Top Sail Lounge. You have a private Yacht Club sun deck, and a restaurant that's exclusively for Yacht Club guests. And outside of the doors, when you step outside of the Yacht Club, you actually still have priority movement throughout the ship. And actually, this is one of my favorite under-the-radar features that most people might not know about the Yacht Club, is that you get the express elevators. You can actually scan your Yacht Club wristband or key card, and the system reserves an elevator just for Yacht Club guests, taking you quickly to the Yacht Club floors. It's an express elevator. It's not flashy, but it does save some time. It will help you avoid the crowds, and it reinforces that sense of separation and exclusivity on board the ship. Now, the Yacht Club sun deck itself is a huge win. This deck, it's up on the 20th deck, which is the highest deck on the ship. It's in the very front of the ship, so you're going to have great views all around. And even on a sea day, this deck never once felt crowded, and there were north of 300 of us total in the Yacht Club on this 5-day sailing. I went out there late on a sea day. We had a few sea days this cruise, and this particular morning I went out around 10:30 or 11 o'clock in the morning and still had zero issues finding a lounger in a prime location. And that meant I didn't have to deal with the chair hogs. I didn't have to get up early and fight for my spot by the pool. And it meant no stress for me. And that alone is a massive upgrade compared to the main ship pool decks, where you might have to fight some of those fights. Now let's talk specifically about the stateroom, because I stayed in a Yacht Club inside cabin, and it was shockingly spacious. And yes, you did hear me right there. An inside cabin that's actually a suite. It's very well laid out, it's beautifully appointed, and even included a table with 2 chairs, which makes in-room dining easy should you opt for that. Now, speaking of dining in the room is included, and your butler can arrange all of that for you. You just have to ask. And I also have to mention the bedding inside this room, because wow, I could immediately tell that the bedding was plush and premium and offered a great night's sleep every night of the cruise. I really enjoyed that. Now, the mini bar inside of the room came fully stocked with things like glass bottled Coke, Coke Zero, Fanta, beer, all sorts of sparkling water. There was still water in there. And there were large bottles of Aqua Panna specifically for the Nespresso machine. And the best part is, in the Yacht Club, all of this is included. You don't have to pay anything extra for the minibar. And that's different from a lot of the other cruise lines when you stay in one of their suites, and I really enjoyed that. I also love that Nespresso machine that was in the room, because what a nice touch that is. They even provide pods of all different kinds for you, and in fact, I only drink decaf coffee, and I happened to mention that early in the cruise to my butler, and they kept me perfectly stocked with decaf pods the entire cruise, and that level of personalization really stood out to me, and it made the entire experience feel very deluxe. Now, when you first arrive to the stateroom, there are also going to be some welcome snacks in there, which include mixed nuts, little can of Pringles, and a Toblerone chocolate bar inside the fridge. However, they did tell me that these are a one-time thing and any additional consumption of them would be for a charge. But that's the only thing that you have to worry about in the mini bar or anything in the room as far as things that you eat being at additional cost. So everything else in the room is included and can be restocked easily and quickly. You just have to ask your butler. Now, here's the part that surprised me about the room. For a ship that's only about 5 years old, there were quite a few cosmetic issues in my stateroom that really stood out. The closet door was kind of falling apart and noisy as a result. There was a loose air vent that would not stay on. I mean, I think I pushed that thing back on there every day and it just kept popping right back off. And there was visible rust in the shower. Now, none of this ruined my experience, and I'm not complaining about it, just making an observation, but at this price point, these things are certainly noticeable, and expectations are certainly higher when you've paid that much money. Overall, though, the Yacht Club concept works incredibly well. I really love that it is truly a ship within a ship, with all the Yacht Club staterooms and venues behind a door and not scattered about the ship like other cruise lines do. So, for ship and the ship within a ship experience, I'm giving Yacht Club a 4.5 out of a 5 rating. Now let's talk about food, because this is where Yacht Club, well, it gets kind of complicated. The food is not bad. A lot of it is good, and sometimes it's very good, but it's not consistently at the level you expect when you hear the words luxury or even suite class dining. One area where Yacht Club really shines is on the Yacht Club sun deck. I mentioned how much I enjoyed it for the space and exclusivity, but there's actually a buffet exclusively for Yacht Club guests out there, and it's genuinely a nice touch. It's calm, it's never crowded, and it feels far more relaxed than the main ship buffets. The food was pretty good out there too. Now you can also order hot food right out on the deck. Maybe you don't want what they're having on the buffet. You can order things like the Yacht Club burger, and that burger is absolutely excellent. They serve it both out on the sun deck, and also you can get it inside of the Yacht Club restaurant. I think you can actually order all those items in your room too if you want them delivered there. Again, just call your butler. But that burger had great quality meat, and it was consistently one of the best casual bites I had the entire cruise. And I say consistently because I had it more than once. But just being able to sit poolside, avoid the crowds entirely, and still get food delivered to you is one of the ways that the Yacht Club dining really, really works and is really, really worth it. However, and quite unfortunately, where things begin to fall apart a bit is in the Yacht Club restaurant. This is supposed to be a luxurious dining experience. It is the Yacht Club after all. However, I found most meals I had there to be mediocre at best, and in fact, I often thought as I ate my meals, wow, this just tastes like something I would get from the main dining room. It just tastes standard and okay, not elevated like what you would expect from the Yacht Club restaurant. Now, the Yacht Club restaurant is open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day during the cruise, which is something I will give MSC credit for, but the food was kind of a big miss for me, other than the burger I had for lunch in there a couple days, as well as the tornado cut of beef on embarkation day. That was new to me, but it was delicious. But most of the other food I had in there fell quite short of impressing me. And as an example, one night I had for a starter the Maryland crab cake, and you could just tell immediately, like as soon as they sat it down, that it was something from Frozen, like it had been in the back of the freezer for a while. It was very dry. It didn't taste fresh at all. I was like hard pressed to even find the crab in it. I also ordered the spring salad, which came with tomatoes, corn, and avocado dressing. There was so much dressing on that salad that it was basically flooded. So a pro tip here, if you just have to order that if you go, ask that you get the dressing on the side, and you'll thank me later for that. And again, the Yacht Club restaurant offers perfectly acceptable cruise food, but it's not elevated enough to feel like true luxury. It kept me wanting more. And I have to mention here, if you're a stickler for dress code in a dining room, then look away here. And that's because dress codes are hardly enforced any time of the day in the Yacht Club restaurant. And as a result, folks showed up to dinner in their sports jerseys, they showed up in their ball caps, and some of them even showed up in shorts. And that doesn't bother me, but I wanted to mention it as I know that some folks expect a more upscale experience when in these exclusive suite class restaurants. Now here's where things get interesting when it comes to food, because we were supposed to stop at MSC's private island, Ocean Cay, but due to sustained winds over 40 knots that day, the captain actually made multiple attempts over about a 6-hour period and ultimately couldn't get the ship safely into port. So sadly we missed Ocean Cay entirely. And I was excited to go here as a guest of the Yacht Club because we actually get exclusive spaces and experiences on the island that are just for Yacht Club guests. And one of those is the Ocean House restaurant, which I had read and heard so many things about prior to the cruise. Well, lucky for me, for the lunch the day we missed Ocean Cay, the Yacht Club restaurant served the Ocean House menu, And it was the full menu that's normally offered exclusively to Yacht Club guests on Ocean Cay. So I was really happy about that. And that meal ended up being, without question, the best meal that I had the entire cruise. I started it all with the shrimp salad. It had watermelon and grapefruit in it. That was incredibly fresh and refreshing. The best salad I had the entire trip, and certainly a far cry from the pitiful salad I'd had at dinner the night before. Then I had shrimp and conch fritters served with an amazing sauce, and it was followed by another fantastic burger. This one was a little bit different. It had different toppings and things than what the typical Yacht Club burger had, so that was really good. And I finished it with carrot cake, and that meal proved to me something very important, and that is that the Yacht Club food can be excellent. It just isn't consistent across the regular lunch and dinner menus. So for food, I can only give the Yacht Club a 3.7 out of 5. It really just missed the mark of luxury, and like I said, it left me wanting more. Now for the E for entertainment, and there's not a lot to mention here specific to the Yacht Club because entertainment in the Yacht Club is mostly the same entertainment that's offered to everyone else on board the ship. Now, they do have a section of seating roped off in the main theater, so you can show up quite late to the show each night and still get a seat near the back, which is what I did because that reserved seating is in the very back of the theater. Or you can actually meet at the concierge desk inside the Yacht Club. Yes, they have their own concierge desk, which acted as a hotel front desk, which I really thought was a very nice touch to the experience. But you can meet there at the concierge desk at a specific time before each show, and a butler or even team of butlers some nights will whisk you from the Yacht Club down to your seats in the main theater for the show. A very, very elegant touch. However, while the entertainment might be standard across the ship for all guests, Yacht Club guests do get one exclusive event. They did offer a mini white party on the Yacht Club deck, and it was a DJ set with snacks just for Yacht Club guests, and it runs alongside the ship-wide White Night event. It's a nice touch, more intimate and less crowded, but it's also the only Yacht Club specific entertainment offering. But really nice for those who might want to get away from the big crowds out on the main pool deck and have something a little bit more intimate. So for the E for entertainment, I'm giving Yacht Club a 3.6 out of 5. And I'll talk much more about the overall entertainment, what it was like across the entire ship MSC Seashore in my review video of that ship, which will be coming soon. And now the P for ports. I plan to review Ocean Cay MSC Marine Reserve, which, as I mentioned earlier, does have a dedicated Yacht Club area and a private restaurant, but since we missed that port, I don't have anything to say here, so I'm not going to give it a rating at all. But just know if you are going to MSC Ocean Cay, which is of course MSC Cruises' private island in the Bahamas, and you are staying in the Yacht Club, you will have an exclusive area. There's a tram apparently, there's a tent right outside. Apparently the butlers will take you down there and walk you on and off the ship, and the butlers would actually do that at all the ports if you wanted them to. They would escort you from the Yacht Club down off to the port, and then they would wait for you. Actually left the port one day. We were actually in Grand Turk, got off the ship, and my butler was waiting when I got back on the ship to help me through security and everything. Now let's talk about service, because this is where MSC Yacht Club truly separates itself from the rest of the ship. And I want to be very clear here. Yacht Club service is not just a nice to have. It's not a gimmick, and it's not something you notice once or twice and just forget about, because service is the core value of the Yacht Club. From the moment you arrive, it's clear that the entire experience is designed around removing friction. You don't wait in the same lines, you don't compete for attention, you don't feel like just another cabin number on the ship. No, you are special. And in fact, embarking the ship was the first indication that things were about to be different when it came to service. And that's because you're taken to a lounge in the terminal to check in where they have champagne and drinks and snacks just waiting for you. You take a seat in this lounge and someone comes around, they've got all the, little iPads and all the things to check you in, and they check you in right at your seat. They give you your key card to your room and a Yacht Club bracelet. And I loved that Yacht Club bracelet. I actually wore it the entire cruise. I never even took my key card out of my room, I don't think. It was nice to just have that Yacht Club bracelet at all times to get you in and out of your room, make purchases around the ship. The only thing that it can't do is get you on and off the ship. You actually have to have your physical key card for that. But once you got your key card and you got your bracelet, a butler actually will escort you on board the ship. They'll take you directly to your muster station to complete the check-in at muster station, and then they will whisk you up to the top cell lounge to await your room being ready. And once your room's ready, your butler will actually escort you and your bags to your stateroom. So the service all really hinges on your butler. Your butler is essentially your personal point person for the entire cruise. Anything you need, dining reservations, room service, special requests, logistics, well, all of it funnels through one person who actually knows you. And that knowing you part really does matter. I'll give you an example. Early in the cruise, I mentioned that I only drink decaf coffee, and from that point on, my room was always stocked with decaf Nespresso pods, and I never had to ask again. It was just handled. And that's the difference between good service and great service. It's not about reacting to requests. It's about remembering preferences and even anticipating needs. And as I mentioned earlier, the butler can arrange in-room dining, which is included with your cruise. They can bring you stuff, like I said, from the Yacht Club restaurant, pretty much anywhere around the ship. People are actually getting whole pizzas. And I will say, and I'll talk more about this in my review of the MSC Seashore overall, but the pizza that they have on MSC is really, really good. I didn't do any in-room dining at all, but just know that that's something that your butlers can arrange. And they can stock your minibar with whatever you want, whatever you prefer. They can bring additional water, coffee, or drinks. And none of this ever feels like you're inconveniencing anyone. You just pick up the phone. I actually called mine one day and he was at my door, like knocking on my door before I even ended the call. I was talking to him about some things I needed. I actually was requesting that they put a little bit more Coke Zero into my fridge because I like to have a Coke Zero in the morning when I wake up first thing. And he was actually knocking on my door before I was able to hang up the call. So that is just how wild the service is in the Yacht Club. And all of this is important because on a lot of cruises, even premium cruises, you can feel like you're asking for too much or you're needing too much, and that never happened here. They never make you feel like that. Now, I do want to be quite honest and transparent like I am in all of my reviews and say that no experience is perfect, and this is a little bit nuanced, but while the service was overall excellent, I did notice something interesting while spending time on the Yacht Club sun deck. On multiple occasions, service seemed to gravitate more quickly toward couples or larger groups, and as a solo traveler, there were moments where servers would pass me by to wait on couples first or to wait on a bigger group first, and I occasionally had to wave someone down to get attention. Now, this wasn't constant and it wasn't hostile or dismissive, but it was noticeable enough to think that it's worth mentioning, especially for those of you who might be solo cruisers considering whether the Yacht Club might be for you. And this experience isn't unique to MSC Yacht Club by any means. It's something that I've observed on other cruise lines as well, be it in a suite class or in just a standard class, but it did need to be said. And now that I have said it, once you did actually get someone's attention, the service was always warm, it was professional, and it was very attentive. Food and drinks arrived quickly, requests were handled without issue, and nothing ever felt chaotic or understaffed. So I'm not complaining, I just wanted to mention that as a data point here about the experience. And honestly, this nuance actually reinforces something important, and that is that the Yacht Club service is human. It's not robotic, it's not scripted, and occasionally that's going to mean that it's not perfectly uniform, but where Yacht Club service absolutely shines and where it justifies its price is when timing actually matters. And let me give you the best example I have of that, because on the final morning of the cruise, I had a 9 a.m. flight out of Orlando Airport. We were sailing out of Port Canaveral and back into Port Canaveral. And I know that's very irresponsible of me, and do not ever do that. Orlando Airport is about a 45-minute drive from Port Canaveral, and anyone who cruises regularly knows that debarkation mornings can be so stressful, even on premium cruises or in a suite experience. And the night before debarkation, I chatted with my butler and arranged him to escort me off the ship on debarkation morning. So just after 6:20 a.m. on debarkation morning, he called my room to let me know that Customs and Immigration were still clearing the ship. We had docked, but that he was monitoring the situation closely, which I thought was really cool. He was basically making sure that I was up and ready to go. And then shortly after 6:30, not 10 minutes later, he knocked on my door, he took my bags, and he personally escorted me off of the MSC Seashore. And here's the key part. I didn't stand in line. I didn't wait. I didn't guess whether I was cutting it too close. I was moved straight to the front of the line and off of the ship efficiently and calmly. There was no stress, no chaos, or uncertainty. And that is real value. That's what you're really paying for when you book with the MSC Yacht Club. Moments like that are when Yacht Club stops being just nice or nice to have and starts being worth it. It's also where Yacht Club quietly outperforms some other luxury and suite class experiences that I've had in the past, because while other products may offer bigger rooms or flashier perks, maybe even better food, well, Yacht Club focuses heavily on logistics, time, and stress reduction. You feel taken care of and even pampered. And when things don't go perfectly, weather delays, missed ports, schedule changes, well, Yacht Club service helps to soften that blow, just like how the staff quickly rearranged everything the day we missed Ocean Cay to provide us that delicious Ocean House dining experience in the Yacht Club restaurant. So While food and entertainment may not always reach true luxury levels, service always does. And that's why, for service, I'm giving MSC Yacht Club the only thing I can, a 500 out of 5. And I'm joking, of course, a 5 is as high as we can go, but it's getting a 5 out of a 5. And it is truly the shining gem of the Yacht Club experience. It's what you're paying for when you go in the Yacht Club. So now that we've reached the end of all of the scores, when we average all those scores together, that gives the MSC Yacht Club an overall final score of a 4.2 out of a 5. But now I will pose to you the question that I posed at the top. Who is the MSC Yacht Club actually for? Well, MSC Yacht Club is perfect for cruisers who value space, calm, and being taken care of more than top entertainment or ultra fine dining. If you hate crowds, if you value your time and want a cruise that feels easy, laid back, and low stress, well then Yacht Club is going to deliver for you in a big way. But if your top priority is blow you away food, the best dining at sea, a front row seat to the best entertainment at sea, or a more formal, luxurious atmosphere, then you may want to think twice, because Yacht Club is more about comfort and service over culinary spectacle. While food and entertainment don't rise to true luxury levels in the Yacht Club, the overall experience is still well above standard cruising, and that's what makes it such a compelling and, to be quite frank, a complicated luxury cruise product. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next adventure.